Can Disney keep this up?
They had such a killer year. 2 years in a row of over $3 billion in operating profit. That's very tough to beat. But I got to say, I've been accused of being tough on Disney.
Right.
Reading the reviewer in your newspaper, The Rise of Skywalker isn't a great Star Wars movie, but that may be because there is no such thing. And you know what? I don't think what the critics say matter at all.
I don't think so either. I'm with you, John. I'm there anyway.
No such thing as in there was never a good Star Wars movie?
Right. He ends it with, it is not entirely terrible. And you know what? I don't think it matters what the critics say. They are going to be a juggernaut that is going to be really tough, even for Disney to ever top. $10 billion in 1 year in box office. No one's ever done that.
That was my point. As long as Jar Jar Binks not in it, I'm going to see it.
Okay, but let me ask Brent a question. This is what Becky and I were talking about earlier. So the Sorkin family, we're all going to go watch this film, but that's because we're of a generation, right? We grew up with this, and to some degree, you could argue that maybe my children will be growing up with Star Wars to some degree. They're coming in a little late in the game. But there is an element of a generation that hasn't grown up with Star Wars. And so how important is this film, not just to being good enough, but to be great, to extend the franchise, not just in the theater so that you want to go back to Disney World maybe for the second or third time, to now go to the theme park, all of it?
Well, I mean, it's all relative, right? I mean, anybody else would be thrilled with an opening weekend of $200 million. So we just have to put that in perspective. But if you look at what Disney hoped it was getting when it acquired Lucasfilm, I think it thought it was going to be more like Marvel, where you were going to have a Star Wars film every year. It turned out they kind of did too much too fast, and they are having some creative problems.
That was a problem.
It was a big problem. I mean, look at Solo actually lost money, and this is going to do less than the first two films in the third trilogy. And so I think that creatively they're trying to sort of figure out what can they do to extend this brand. And it could be that the future is not on the big screen, where Star Wars revolutionized cinema, right?
It's on
streaming. It's on Disney Plus.
I think Julia raised a very important point. You know, everybody's been talking about the investment in streaming by Disney and been willing to see them take the earnings dilution on that because streaming is the future. I think with the movie business, the issue isn't earnings dilution, it's content dilution. Is taking these great movie franchises, turning them into the small screen, spinning off a few series, going to make it very difficult to have the big screen mega release notion that has driven these 6 or 7 films to $1 billion box office each. And I think that content dilution issue is the one they got to be careful of.
But then the flip side is you have like The Irishman's a completely different operation, but on Netflix, and you saw the numbers they came out with in terms of just the sheer number of people that are watching it, more than you would ever get in the theaters.
Right. Well, I think that's a fascinating point because what's going on here is Disney is purposely disrupting its television business. But trying to maintain the theater window and theatricals because they're so dominant in it, while the rest of the players are trying to disrupt the theatrical business by taking movies, putting them in the movie theater a few weeks, then like The Irishman, like Marriage Story, like The Report, going right to the small screen. And Disney is the one who's trying to keep that wave from overtaking their business there.
Brent, to me, the big issue in this next year is going to be the windowing for these films. Do you think it really does finally come down?
I think every other studio that's not Disney would like to see that window shortened.
Right.
I mean, the thing that's really interesting, though, is for theater owners, they love Disney, right? They love their product. They love the fact that Disney respects their window. But Disney also asks for much more onerous terms. They're asking for about 65% to even 70% of box office. Usually it's about a 50-50 split, and they're asking for their best auditoriums. That's tough.
Hey, the best thing movie theaters have going now are the big cushy chairs.